Wondering what the audit and assurance paper is all about? Not sure how the exam is structured or how to prepare effectively? If you are feeling unsure about where to start or worried about tackling the challenges of this paper, believe me, you're not alone. In this video, we'll break down the AA paper, its aim, its syllabus, the exam format, and we'll share practical tips to help you succeed. So, let's dive in. The ACCA Applied Skills level is designed to build the practical knowledge and technical expertise required for a career in accounting and finance. This level focuses on developing essential skills like financial reporting, management accounting, taxation, and audit, which are crucial for understanding and solving real-world business problems. As you can see, there are 6 different papers here that are covered under the umbrella of Applied Skills. We are going to talk about Audit and Assurance. So now let's move over and discuss the purpose of the AA paper. I'm going to hand it over to our tutor, Lilia, who's going to give you her perspective on this paper. Lilia is actually the main tutor in our academy for AA paper.
You are taking ACCA AA exam. Great. That is especially good because when you grow up a little bit and get to strategic level, you will need to choose one of the optional exams. And the choice is not big. So you can use taxes. Not many people like taxes. You can use advanced financial management, advanced performance management, or advanced audit and assurance. And this means that if you're not very good with numbers, advanced audit and assurance and advanced performance management is the likely mix that you are going to take. And advanced audit and assurance is going to rely heavily on the knowledge of whatever you are going to study here. So getting ready for this exam, you actually get yourself ready for the next exam as well. And even more, in this very exam, you will learn a little bit more about businesses. Because even if you have nothing to do with the audit, it is great to know how to control organization, how to look at what can go wrong. Even if you are never going to work as an auditor, you will work in business, right? So you do need this knowledge. So this exam is going to be about controls, about the control environment, test of controls. This exam is going to be about accounts and about assertions. So basically, what is that we are testing in this accounts, whether it is existence of some balances, occurrence of some transactions, or maybe completeness of liabilities, and so on. And for these accounts, we are going to look at how to test, what to test, like how goods received notes should be compared to, what should they be compared to. So this will help you even if you are a CFO that comes to the company and you want to see whether this very company that does not have its own control department, whether the processes, the control processes are still there, and whether the control processes are satisfactory. So you will learn a lot. You will also learn about the audit reports. And again, even if you do not work as an auditor and are not planning to work as an auditor, this still will be important for your career because once in a while you have to deal with audit reports, whether it is for the company you work for or whether it is for an investee of yours. So you will need to know what is a qualified opinion means, what is a modified report, what is an adverse opinion, and so on. So that exam is very practical, very useful in your real life, and quite interesting. Part A talks about audit framework and regulations. In here, the most important topic would be professional ethics and ACCA Code of Ethics and Conduct. That is actually the topic that is going to be tested almost in each and every exam, because it is vital to our job. Also, we are going to talk about regulations that govern external audits, and corporate governance, which again is super important for this exam because you will need to be able to talk about what is the best way to manage the company. We are going to have part B, which is planning and risk assessment. So that is about how we're going to accept the engagement, how we're going to analyze the proposal of a client for us to make some audit work or assurance work for them. We are going to assess audit risks. We're not talking about business risks. We're not talking about the risk of not getting as much revenue as we could. We are going to talk about how to understand the entity and the environment in which it operates. We are going to talk about fraud and the documentation that we need to do when planning the audit. The topics that are going to be tested very heavily are going to be internal controls. So we are going to look at the system of internal controls, how to evaluate the system, and how to design and execute tests of controls. And that is actually fun to see how the operations should work. We are going to talk about audit evidence, so what the assertions are and how we collect the evidence that can help us to see whether the assertion is accurate or not. We are going to talk about audit procedures like observation. We are going to talk about samples, how samples should be selected. We are going to talk about the use of work of others. So to what extent can we use the work of internal auditor, of external evaluator, and so on. A super important part would be not-for-profit organizations. And I do know that for many people, it seems to be not interesting, not relevant. But hey, there are more and more not-for-profit organizations, and they do need effective managers. And ACCA wants you to be one of them. They want you to be able to work for such organizations and bring benefit. We are going to talk about reporting and review. So what is the type of audit report that we need to issue? What are the written representations that we need to collect? How to evaluate a assess going concern issue? And part F is about employability and technology skills. So this is about you being able to work with computer. And this exam is computer-based. So you will be tested on this part F of the syllabus by just having to type in your answer.
So now let's quickly talk about the exam itself. The exam is computer-based. It's 3 hours long, so just like all the other papers. However, there's a little twist here because there is no formula sheet here. This is because the AA paper primarily focuses on testing theoretical knowledge, application of auditing principles, and critical thinking rather than performing complex numerical calculations. So therefore you don't really need any formula sheet. Pass mark, as in the other papers, is 50%, and it's mostly focused on words. And why is that? Let me just move to the next slide. This is the first paper that puts so much attention on writing. But let's start from the beginning. So section A, here you have the same multiple task questions. So basically what you have here, you have 3 objective test scenarios. So you may have multiple choice, multiple response, drag and drop, ordering type of questions, drop down, etc. In section B, you have 3 questions, 3 constructed response questions. You have 1 question that covers 30 marks and 2 for 20 marks. I think the best way here will be just to show you the screenshot directly taken from the syllabus so that you can understand what I'm talking about. As you can see here, within the section B, there is big focus on planning and risk assessment, internal controls, and audit evidence. So shortly, we are going to focus here on part B, C, and D. Although, as they say, there might be other topics that are coming from other parts of the areas as well. However, the big focus here is on those 3 parts. Section A covers 30 marks, which basically leaves it with 54 minutes in total. I would suggest that you aim for 15-18 minutes per scenario to finish everything. There are 3 scenarios, so you should cover the whole time limit for this section. Now, section B, for the 30-mark questions, it is advised that you try to wrap it up in 54 minutes, and the 20-mark questions should take you roughly half an hour and something. So try not to exceed this time limit, because when you start typing a lot, it is human nature to just try to be perfect and exceed the time limit assigned. And this is really important for you to stick to the time frame, okay? So please take this advice and try to at least practice the time limits before sitting the exam. But let's also hear what Leah, our tutor, has to say about it.
Let's talk about the tricks as to how to pass the exam. So it is important for you, after each and every lecture, to take a piece of A4 paper and just write down the key ideas. So, for example, write down what are the types of audit report and what are the types of the report that are needed when we have, let's say, material misstatements that are pervasive or not pervasive. Write down what the accounts are and what are the assertions that could relate to them. What are the procedures? It doesn't mean that you have to rewrite the book. No, this will not help. But what is important is that you will try to remember. Only by trying to remember something, we do understand what the topic is about, and we are able to understand the logical arguments. As for trying to memorize stuff, well, unfortunately in here you kind of do. You do need a perfect memory to remember all the types of the risks, the control procedures, and so on. Well, what I recommend is to write down these key items and just review them before you go to sleep. Because the way our brains work is that when we're sleeping, they take whatever there is there in our daily memory and they try to sort it in between the drawers. And whatever is the freshest has the higher chance of being remembered. Every night before going to bed, you read at least something that is structured, that is logical, that is written by your handwriting before you go to sleep. Handwriting helps. Even if you do not write a lot, even if you use computers, that is just a different way you process the information. And even more, when it is computers, you are going to type faster than you actually think. And there will be no time to recollect, to think about it, to stop for a second. Your handwriting is slower, most likely, so it will allow you to memorize the stuff better. Now, as for Part B questions, it is important for you to know how to write down the answer so that it brings marks. So try to do that exercise before watching the practice video and then see how I talk about it. See what are the logical points that I stress, how I formulated my answer, and go to your attempt. Try to review it from the marker's perspective and see if your answer does score mark or not. And just a disclaimer, you are going to get a mark if you have an explanation. So when there is some justification in it, such as because, therefore, such as, when there is taking the scenario and saying what it means. So this is how we get ready for the exam.
Studying for this exam. First of all, make sure you book the exam at the start of your study period, and then you know what you're aiming for. You can see how much time you've got to divide up between now and when you're actually going to sit that exam. Make sure when you're practicing questions, wherever you can, you're practicing in the real exam software. The Practice Test Academy software is very close, or the ACCA software itself you could use. Make sure you always do questions to time. It's a bad habit to get into, to give yourself ages and ages and ages to do every single question, because you won't have the luxury of time in the real exam. As we said earlier, that section B is a blind spot for many, especially the words in section B, so make sure you give time to those, and that will put you ahead of the field. Cover the whole syllabus, even the hard bits. In fact, focus on the bits that you can't do when you're studying. It's tempting to stick to the bits you feel comfortable with, but the exam is designed to try and cover the whole syllabus, so you'll be preparing yourself best in working through the whole syllabus. Make sure that you learn mainly through question practice. Sitting and learning a file is a very passive way to try and learn. It's very hard for it to cram it into your head that way. It's often for people much more effective to have a go at questions once they've studied, have a go at questions, and then if there's any questions they can't do, then flick back into the notes to help you. And that's a much more proactive way of learning. It should stick in your head better. Focus on what you can't do in your study time, and then focus on what you can do on the day. And keep track of the questions you've done. So when you have a go at questions, try to keep the answers away from the questions themselves so that you can use those questions again later on down the line. I always used to keep track of the questions I got wrong in particular, and then after a bit of time had gone by, I'd have another go at them just to make sure I could now do them. So when you're studying, keep a diary and write what you're going to do every single day in those study sessions. And commit that. Put yourself first in this process and commit to those study sessions. Don't let other people and other things take them away. I'm not saying here you need to study every single day. You might well put a break day in your diary. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But stick to the dates that you've put in your diary. Give yourself regular breaks when you're studying. Every sort of 10-15 minutes or so, just look away from the screen for perhaps a minute and relax your shoulders and so on. Every hour, make sure you take a good 10 or 15 minute break. To be honest, even if you don't feel like you need it, take that break, walk around, have a stretch, have a drink, and that will keep the energy levels up for a much longer period of time. Try and keep your study sessions output based. Now, what I mean by that is that when you're saying, I'm going to study now, rather than saying, I'm going to study for 2 hours, say I'm going to do these questions, and when these questions are done satisfactorily, then I'm finished. And that motivates you to get down and start working hard. If you give yourself a time limit, there's every incentive to slow down and waste time in those kinds of sessions. So give yourself output-based targets. The other benefit of those is that if you plan your work in that way, you're guaranteed to get through the work you need to get through by the time you get to the exam. And make sure you keep practicing as much as you can in the real computer-based exam environment.
If the ACCA Audit and Assurance paper feels overwhelming, don't worry, we've got you covered. Our comprehensive courses and packages are designed to guide you step by step. If you prefer video lectures, we offer 2 options. The Master course includes 4 mock exams, a detailed question bank, and video lectures to help you master the syllabus. The Ultimate course takes it a step further, offering 2 extra mocks, so 6 in total, official BPP ebooks directly viewable on our website, and personalized marking services for 3 of our mocks. If you're on a budget and don't need video lectures, you can opt for our online practice kit with plenty of exam-style questions, or just choose a standalone mock to focus your preparation. It's all about finding the right solution for your study preferences and achieving ACCA goals. Thank you and good luck.